Alright guys, here's a quick review video on sentence completion strategies. A synonym, FYI, is a word used in place of one you can't spell. That's especially if you don't have that spell word function. If you ever notice in infomercials, the vocabulary in it has a lot of wow, revolutionary, amazing, get one free. But wait is always the biggest section. As you'll see, vocabulary is very important in this section. Alright, here's some basic sentence completion strategies. There are two things that make the sentence completions hard. The first one is very obvious. It is difficult vocab. If you don't know what the word means, at best you could probably eliminate a choice or two and then make a good guess on it. That's what usually makes a question harder. If you're like near the end of the sections, they're much more harder vocab. The second one's a little less obvious, the structure of your sentence. If you can't figure out what type of word would fit in the blanks, it won't even matter if you know what the vocab word is anyway, because you might put in the wrong word into the sentence. You want to make sure when you're doing these questions to follow the order of difficulty. Just like I stated in earlier videos, rough order of difficulty, the first few are easy, the second few are medium level, and the last few are harder ones. So remember when you're looking at your test, the raw score is always +1 no matter what type of question you get right. So you want to focus more time on the easy ones and the medium ones. Your core strategy when doing sentence completions. Make sure that you come up with your own word that fits into the blank based on the clues in the sentence. Do not look at the answer choices first. Put in a word in the blank first, then look at the choices. You could be as dramatic as actually using your hand to cover the answer choices. Write down the word before you even look at it. That is one of the best ways to do these questions. You want to look for the sentence's hints. There will always be a slight hint or clue about what will go in the blank so the sentence makes sense. If you change the hint, the word in the blank must change too. So if you see the word however, you're probably going to change the meaning of the sentence. It's helpful to actually draw arrows, so maybe I'm going one way and then I see a however. If the first word was positive, the next word will probably be downward or negative because it switches it. Look for your structure words. Although, however, but, rather, and, while, therefore. That reveals how the sentence is organized, right? You're probably aware just by hearing these words if you keep the same meaning of the sentence or switch the meaning of it, right? Also, structure words. If you see a comma or a colon, those typically mean it's the same meaning as what we said in the previous part of the sentence. Other times you might see other structural parts that tell a different meaning of the sentence. So let's try some actual examples. This is in the SAT book. It says, archaeology is a poor profession. Only blank sums are available for excavating sites and even more blank amounts for preserving the excavations. When you're reading a question like this is how you would want to read it. You don't even want to look at the answer choices first, right? So let's try to put in a word that would make sense for each blank. Archaeology is a poor profession. Only blank sums are available. So it's saying poor profession. There's also a semicolon. Semicolon is going to keep the same meaning of the sentence as it was in the beginning. So we're going to need another word that's like poor. So maybe only small sums are available. You don't need a super advanced word when you're writing them down here. Don't take too long of actually thinking of one. Small works as a choice, right? So only small sums are available for excavating sites and even more blank amounts for preserving excavations. It says even more. It's probably going to be small again, right? Maybe even more smaller amounts for preserving the excavations. Then, once you've actually written the words down in the blanks, you want to look at the answer choices. Out of these answer choices, only paltry sums, paltry means small, and even more meager amounts, meager also means small. A sounds like a good choice, right? If you look at B, and make sure you look at each choices, obviously. Minuscule sum would make sense, but substantial means quite a bit. So B would not work. What a lot of people do is they'll see one choice work and then think that's the answer. In a dual blanker with two blanks, make sure both words work. Average sums doesn't make much sense. Augmented means bigger. Judicious is actually fairly big. I'm not even sure what that one is. Modest is very small, but generous is big. So our answer for this one is actually letter A. Here's another one. This is actually number 6 out of about 9. So this is a medium/harder one, actually. It says, after an initially warm reception by most reviewers and continued blank by conservative thinkers, Bloom's work came under heavy fire. So it says came under heavy fire here after an initially warm. So it did switch in the end of the sentence. However, by reading it carefully, it says warm reception by most reviewers and will keep it the same, continued blank. I'm going to say another positive word here, and continued maybe praise. Praise would be a good blank. Bloom's work came under heavy fire. The sentence would make sense because the initial part says after initial, and then you have the comma, it switches. If you look at the answer choices, criticism would be negative. Criticism might work if it was a blank, maybe around here, but it's not like that. Endorsement actually works because endorsement's positive. Okay? Denigration, it could actually sounds like a negative word, and it is. Counterattack, counter means opposite. Refutation means that they're refuting, they're not saying that he was accurate. So endorsement's the only positive answer there, and that's our right choice. Okay, now, how do we do way, way better in our sentence completions? The best way to do it is vocab. There's not really a quick way around it, okay? Here's 4 words. You could trust me on it. I'm going to say the meaning of the word in order without looking. So right now I'm teaching this in front of the SAT class. Notice that I'm not looking right now, okay? Advocate means to support. Censor means to blame or criticize. Deleterious means doubtful. No, deleterious means harmful. Dubious means doubtful. All right, I got all 4 words about looking in order. Now, how do I actually do this? This is what's called the memory palace, and this is a good technique for learning vocab. How does the memory palace actually work? You want to go through the order of places you get when you get home or when you go to school or a certain location that you do very consistently, okay? You also want to relate the definition of your word with the location that you choose. This is very helpful for vocab words. It's also helpful for remembering names, dates, facts. You could use this in everyday life or in other classes as well. If you go to this website link from your SAT review book, it actually has every word in the whole test that's relatively difficult. They're not going to put the definition of the word the or and, but any word that's in one of those sentence completions will be there. So this is a great way to improve your vocab skills. So if you look back in the definitions, here I took a picture of where I live and the locations that I go to. The first word was advocate. That means to support. So I wrote, I advocate supporting my car with tires. The first place I go is I park my car. So I was thinking about something holding up or supporting the car, and that means advocate. The second word was censure. Let's say I'm trying to cook dinner tonight, and they put those menu items on my door, which is the next place I go. I'm blaming or criticizing them putting those in there by throwing them out. For number 3 was deleterious. Deleterious means harmful. I usually drop off my sneakers next. So I was thinking if I put white out on my sneakers, that would delete some of the sneaker. That would be very harmful for the sneaker. Number 4, I usually want to sit on the couch a little bit and rest. But dubious was my next word. That means doubtful. I'm thinking it's very dubious I'll be able to sit there that long because I'm going to have to cook. I'm hungry. So this is how you would use the memory palace to relate to words. This is a system that ancient Greeks used like 2,000-3,000 years ago to memorize full speeches. It's very helpful to memorize your vocab. All right, guys, so if you have any other general SAT questions, leave a comment down below, and good luck.